We have a wonderful guest for you all tonight. My special guest this evening is George Kavasillas. And George Kavasillas is an author, mentor, and public speaker. George has had a lifetime of strange and wonderful experiences beyond the ordinary, encountering both benevolent and malevolent, interdimensional and extraterrestrial beings. As a consequence, he went through a process of reconciling the knowledge and wisdom gained from these experiences and came to realize a natural response to share what he had learned with our global community. As a result, George now embodies a limitless passion in answering life's primordial questions. Who are we? Where do we come from? And what are we doing here? All that George shares stems from direct experience. Some find his work challenging, yet for others it is incredibly liberating. The knowledge and wisdom George shares, along with his values and philosophy, have helped thousands of people over the world to feel, to be, and to live in more a peaceful and centered and empowered state in a most natural way. George knows his life path includes a focus to expose all levels of deception, no matter how far they go. He carries a deeply seated responsibility to help liberate our humanity from all forms of imposing doctrine and dogma without exception. I Am Infinite, and it's www.iaminfinite.love, is an expression of George's work that provides people with a supportive learning environment. As George says, quote, it's really a remembering process to revitalize and resurrect the sovereign and infinite being you truly are. It's beautiful. And we are on the path of the truth seeker. False beliefs are torn down, but in their stead, the naked truth rises in its simple beauty. That's beautiful, unquote. And his website's iaminfinite.love. And he also is weareinfinite.love. And it's just really exciting to have George on with us tonight. So please welcome George to the show this evening. Good evening, George.
Hello, Solaris. How are you doing?
I'm just wonderful, and it's wonderful to hear your voice. So thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you. It's an honour to be here. I absolutely felt a deep resonance the moment I crossed paths with you in Albuquerque, and we really wanted to have a decent catch-up, but we just didn't get the chance because we were so busy and diverted by the other responsibilities.
Oh, so true. It was like two ships passing in the night. But there was something about you, when I saw your eyes, and this is very interesting, it's that soul spirit recognition. Because I swear I recognized your frequency or your consciousness, your spirit, your soul, whatever it was. Very, very interesting. So, yeah, I'm really glad that you're here and you're able to share your incredible information with our listeners tonight. So, yeah, it's really a pleasure to have you. And I am sorry I missed your lecture over there. Yeah, for sure. I did want to ask you if you can actually elaborate on some of your personal experiences, which thwarted you into this kind of a paradigm where you're working and doing all this incredible work. What actually sparked this?
Yeah, it kind of started from a very young age. So I've been having experiences from even when I was a baby, really. And the furthest one back I can remember was my christening. And the experience was really quite intense. And what I saw going on inside a church was something different to what everybody thought was going on. And it was very confronting. And then I had memories of when I was around 5-6 years old of actually being abducted by the Greys and being pretty much a straight-A student up until they started messing with me, and then it all started falling apart. Also, I remember going into craft with other children and having nice experiences, and then coming back and having to deal with the curriculum being presented to the children in schools. And reconciling being in a craft with children working on kinetic energy and things like that, then coming down to life here and see what was being dished out here in what we call the education system was very challenging for me. And I couldn't speak up, I couldn't say anything. At the same time, I just was not stimulated at all. And found it extremely boring, and not from a superiority complex, just from pure non-resonance with what was going on, and really struggled. Yeah. So, and some of my bigger experiences when I got more into the adult age was, it was quite profound. I had some with another group of Greys that just decided to come and pay me a visit, and the walls of my house, which were 2.5 thick stone walls. I was living in the Adelaide Hills at the time. They just shimmered, and I had 3 Greys on one side come walking through because my bed was facing the wall, and 2 on the other. And it was amazing to see how they actually altered reality. And this particular group of Greys, they don't need what we consider like a hard exoskeletal construct, meaning if we want to go flying in a different type of atmosphere, we will build a hard exoskeletal vehicle like a plane and then go flying with that. Or if we go into the ocean, we'll build a submarine so we can take our reality with us inside of that hard exoskeletal construct. But the way these beings operate is just with pure intention. They can actually alter the reality itself by working with the elements.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Can I ask you what your perception is of the Greys? Do you think they're a machine? What is your impression of them?
I'm aware of, I'll say subgroups. I'm aware of probably about 7 main subgroups of Greys. Mm-hmm. And there's not just people say, oh, that's the Greys. There's many different kinds of that type of humanoid construct and that type of looking humanoid construct. Mm-hmm. So there's some that are botanically based, that are based on plant species. There are others that are cetaceous based. There are others that are more reptilian Draco based. There are others that are the original root race of the Greys was actually humans. And it's a humanoid race that branched off from Earth around this time and chose the path of technology. And because they chose the path of technology, they ended up atrophying all their other body parts except the one muscle that worked for them, and that was the intellectual muscle. Mm-hmm. And because they used technology to alter everything, all their reality and everything around them, everything else atrophied. And they ended up looking like they look like. And they went smaller in physical size. From 6 foot humans, they went down about 3.5, 4 foot. And we're talking about a process of evolution around about 1 million years, somewhere there. That's what they shared with me. And they were us, not me individually, specifically, but they were a group of humans, which is now called the Secret Space Program, who are branching off right now and choosing the path of technology. And I met their future selves, who looped back, because this is the moment in time where they say it all went wrong for them. And they tracked it back through time. So they went off exploring in our galaxy and then intergalactic exploration eventually. And they spread out. And then all the other Grey races are actually founded on this root race of Greys. And the reason the other Grey species have chosen this species as the root race, because they were the first ones to actually, and now what we're talking about is needing to understand the way time operates. So even though they're presenting themselves to us here in the present, which compared to, let's say, Greys that turned up 2,000 years ago, well, people will say, well, that's the future from then. And Greys that have turned up who are like robotoid in nature may have turned up 1,000 years ago on Earth. And if a group is leaving now and then going forward 1 million years of evolution, and through that 1 million years, you've got all these offshoot races of other Grey species. How does that work? Well, it's because you need to understand Earth and our humanity, who we are. And we are actually, our bodies, our physical bodies are fractals, universal fractals. So we have the capacity to actually access the entire universe. Mm-hmm. And we're a really, really unique species. We're at the forefront of the evolution of the universe. And because this group of humans have chosen to branch off, what they actually ended up becoming, the version they end up becoming, are master geneticists and master manipulators of time and space, basically. So they're really, really clever beings. And some of them fell by the wayside, and others held onto integrity, but they just stayed with technology. And they've come to realize now that if they are to return home and like exit the grand cosmic arena, they actually need to come home to their own soul. and they've been severed from that because of they're living the illusion of separation because they chose that path of technology. So it's really interesting that they've looped back now, and because they're able to travel through time. They've been able to go what we would consider in the linear time experience. They've been able to go back to the ancient past, and then other races were able to make replicates of their construct because they liked them, and because of what they're capable of, especially the intellectual muscle side of it. And then so you have these different ones, and there are a group of what we will call greys who are robotoid in nature. And they are a manufactured species that other entities use as their little worker guys. So you could see we have many different kinds of greys. There's even greys that are about 5, 6, 7 foot tall, and there's another group that's around about 20 to 22 foot tall. So there's different types.
Quite a bit, and you have a vast database of information. Is this the information that you've created just from your own personal experience?
Just from my personal experiences. I'm not a researcher. That's what the authorities have actually, most of them have actually resigned to the fact. Some of them are still trying to work it out, how I get my information that I'm sharing. But because they monitor my computer, my home, I'm monitored 24/7 everywhere I go. I'm fully transparent with them. They know I don't sit on my computer. I don't surf the net. I might listen to the odd podcast, maybe one every couple of weeks or something, whatever gets my attention. But everything I'm sharing is from direct experience.
It sounds very unique. Yeah, I can tell. And that's what I appreciate about you as well. I have to ask you, being picked up as a child with this type of a species, what was it that put you on the radar? Was it your DNA? What do you think it was about you that pulled you into that?
That's part of the story. I've incarnated into interesting combination of bloodlines. My father's family goes back through the patriarchal priestly kings of back through into the Byzantine era and beyond, and my mother's side of the family goes back through to when my ancestor built the gates to the city of Constantinople. So there's this really interesting sort of journey but that's my genetic body. That's my human that's the vessel, right? But also my spirit and my soul and my consciousness has to do with the role that I'm playing. The role that an aspect of me is playing in the Sirius star system, and playing a role of being more involved in what we would call the exopolitical arena, and what I have coined the term the cosmopolitical arena.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. Yeah, you do strike me as being very advanced. There's no doubt about that. Very ancient, very, very ancient celestial design work. At least that's what it looks like to me.
I'll say I won't use the word advanced. I'll just say more integrated into my being is how I genuinely feel. I just feel there's more of me present there. There's my ego of George, which is my personality interface with this reality and this lifetime, this incarnational construct. But I'm also there's far more than George here present in my incarnation, and it's not. I'm not channeling. Some people like to do that. Some people like to say that I'm a walk-in, and I've looked into that because I go through a lot of changes, but they're different aspects of my being actually integrating into unity, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, multidimensional
because we're fractals,
aspects,
right? Yeah, universal fractals. So we have so many different aspects of self coming in from many different realities, integrating into a unity.
That's perfect. And how did you do that? How did you accomplish that? Was it just about changing your vibrational frequency or just being on the path of spirit? How did that happen?
Yeah, so it's not about the misnomer that people are falling into is that you must raise your vibration. That's the pathway that people, if they choose that pathway, they will be assimilated into empire, because empire uses the hierarchical model. And there's a lot of races who have a very high, fine vibration, but they're as evil comes. So just because you raise your vibration doesn't mean you're more advanced or benevolent. I just want to make that point.
That's a good point you make. That's an excellent point. Go ahead.
Right, because there's a definite narrative in our world. So what Mother Earth is facilitating for us is an opportunity to become fully integrated universal beings. So I have a quote, and the quote is, "I am a universal embryo in the planetary womb of the divine universal mother."
Oh, nice. That's beautiful. Wow, that's very powerful too. Yeah. And what inspires you to do these presentations? Is it about awakening people, just kind of cueing them to what they're really about?
It is. I have a passion. I have a sense of responsibility and obligation because, like everybody, I tried so hard because to get out. I just wanted out because life's so difficult and challenging here. But then I came to realize that all the difficulties and all the challenges that I'm experiencing are opportunities of alchemy and growth and integration. So I stopped playing the blame game and I started heading out there. And then I got so far out and so far removed from this reality that I was experiencing other dimensions, other species, other aspects of self. And I came to realize the true nature of this world and this reality beyond all belief systems, just the actual I have a passion for what is real, and so I've gone past this whole I'm a truth seeker sort of thing. I just want what's real. So there's distortions, and then there's just the genuine reality, like the authentic nature of life in this universe. And Mother Earth has her own authentic expression, just like you have yours, and I have my authentic expression. And then there's layers of distortions above or beyond that because of not only my own personal belief systems, but all the cultural programming I've been exposed to and the dogmas and the doctrines and ideological systems. And they all create distortions in our own expression of our own logos, so meaning when we're turning inside out. So our soul expression gets apprehended, gets subjugated, and gets slanted, manipulated, distorted, twisted, things like that. And what we're working towards is getting past. We don't have to identify every little distortion or every little manipulation, but it really helps to identify the key components, the key ones. And then it's kind of like a domino effect or a ripple effect where the other ones just dissolve as an automatic byproduct of just hitting these key points within oneself.
Yeah, that's well said. I agree with that as well. And also, when it comes down to thoughts manifesting realities, obviously everybody's manifesting their own stream of energy simultaneously. And what we're looking at is it seems like there's a lot of static. So I think that maybe that's what you were touching on to some degree. But the source behind this, insofar as the agenda behind confusion or disorientation or not knowing oneself, do you believe that that's more of I want to say maybe a covert program that's being run, or is it just something that's personalized with each person?
Yeah, it's both. So I'm yes and now rather than it's just them. So my greater being has chosen to incarnate into this reality and allow myself to become vulnerable to the imposition for my personal growth. So now that's commentary from beyond the drama. Now I'm going to come inside the drama. Okay, so from commentary inside the drama, there is absolutely an imposition, and it is totally designed to not only arrest our development, but completely apprehend and subjugate to the fullest extent our creative process, because we are all natural, sovereign, infinite creator beings. We've chosen to come into this universe from beyond this universe. We have a beautiful, loving relationship with the creator of this universe, but we're in this really interesting journey in this part of the universe because we're entering we're at a stage in our journey through this universe where we're achieving completion in our journey through the grand cosmic arena. And we are getting absolutely everything thrown at us, including the kitchen sink. And it is amazing just to step back and have a look at all the different narratives at play. Like a narrative from the God program is you're just a bunch of lonely sinners, pathetic lonely sinners. You're born of sin and you need saving. Another narrative is from high-end mind-bending philosophies. This is all just a dream. It's just an illusion. It's not really real. Another one is it's just a flat earth with a firmament. Another one is, it's just a hologram. So your reality is just some sort of manufactured artificial construct. Another one is it's just a computer simulation. It's not really real. So you can see that they're continually coming out. And if you look at all of these narratives, actually every single one of them has one thing in common. They all have the same theme, every single one of them. And every single one of them is designed to diminish Mother Earth and her humanity, every single one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and if you want to get to what's real, you have to take into consideration all of those narratives, but also understand what is real resides beyond those narratives, because those narratives are all part of a cosmo-political campaign to diminish us.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, what's the point in being here if it's all just an illusion, you know?
Exactly.
The logic behind it, too. I have to look at it on that level as well. I mean, I can see energy and consciousness, and I get all that with the dimensional fields, but we do have to have that balance. No, I agree. That's very, very interesting that you set it up that way, because it certainly makes an awful lot of sense to me as well. But yeah, so what's the difference between, I know that in the past I've heard you say, you talk about consciousness and infinite beings versus consciousness, perhaps. Is the terminology consciousness not cohesive to what we really are or what we expand into?
A consciousness is a part of what we are. The problem we have is everybody's making it their everything.
Okay.
Then there's a strong narrative to say consciousness is all there is. And it's kind of like, okay, there's a narrative, there's a meme, and it's like, why? Well, who benefits from that meme, from that narrative? And through my own experience in life is consciousness is universal mind energy. And when I look around, I look at different spiritual doctrines and religious ideological systems, there's a strong push for people to become enlightened through having a high vibrational field of consciousness. And it's a common theme. And, and what I've come to know for myself is that consciousness is universal mind energy. So what we're looking at is a process of mind enlightenment. And what I'm interested is what we could call the enlightenment or the full integration into universal beingness. I want my whole being to become enlightened, not just my mind. So it's a focus on mind. And consciousness is just part of what I am. The question we all need to be asking is consciousness all I am, or do I exist beyond consciousness? And once we start approaching these sorts of things, big questions with the right questions, there is an approach that we can have which can really help us begin to contemplate the narratives that are being bounced around out there and infiltrating the human psyche. And so I've literally experienced myself beyond consciousness. So I know I exist beyond consciousness. I know that aspect of me that exists beyond consciousness, the label I give that, I call that soul. And it has to do with the vibration of the word. And then there's spirit. So spirit is a sharp energy, and consciousness is an interesting vibrational pattern of energy. And then soul, well, that's where I'm whole. Do you know what I mean? Through my soul, I'm experiencing my loving, unified field of love and my relationship with the universal creator. From my soul, I'm projecting or I'm emanating spirit and consciousness into my creative process in the universe. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. When you experienced this, were you in a near-death experience, or how did that happen? How did that... No, in 2003 was the biggest experience I ever had of all of them. And that was when I fully integrated with my soul. It was an incredible experience. I got to not only be in full unity with the universal creator, but in that space you get to experience the universe as does the universal creator, because in the natural way of life, we use a process called integration. So let's say I would meet a group of extraterrestrial beings. Well, the communication with some of them might be telepathy, for example. And if you are experiencing telepathic communication from another being, then instantly you know that they are using mind to communicate. Mm-hmm. And there is a process of communication that is much more profound than telepathy. And beings from what I consider the natural order, we use a process of integration where we become one another and we experience life through being one another. It is genuine unity, but enabled to be able to cope with all of the light and all of the shadow from another being. You really have to be in good stead with all of your light and all of your shadow, because you experience all of theirs through yours.
Right.
Right. So it's a completely different way of communication and of being. And so to really know this universe, to really know our planetary mother, to access the knowledge of Earth and life here and humanity and the knowledge of the solar system, beings of the natural order do it through a process of unity, or integration. The true sense of the word oneness, not the hive mind versions that are being sold to people, but the true unity through the heart and the soul. So that to me was a profound experience where I got to experience the universe. I saw, for as much as I can remember, but at the time I was experiencing the entire universe. I brought back with me into my ego construct as George as much as I could from that experience and everything that's needed. And I got to see a lot, and also got to experience my infinite nature beyond this universe. We all exist beyond this universe. So there's a creator of this universe, but then beyond this universe is what I call the omniverse and the infinite nature of life. So there's all these other universes out there. Each one's a different construct. This one's made of what we call light. Countless universes out there, countless creator beings of universes. You have your universe, Solaris. I have mine. And everybody's got theirs. Everyone listening to this, you've got your own universe in the omniverse. We're all infinite beings. And in the infinite nature of life, there's no creator of that, because it's infinite. There's no beginning and there's no end. Life always has been. Life always will be. It's never been created. So then comes the question is, well, how come we have an entity in this universe claiming to be the creator of all that is and all that exists? So that's an interesting question, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Why would an entity claim that?
Very, very, very good.
And it exposes a lot. Like, you just ask that question and it will open up. You will see everything. If you delve into that question that I just shared with you, you will see everything open up before your eyes about this world. However, in order for you to really see what I'm insinuating here, you need to actually let go of all your belief systems. And I had to go through that process, and it's challenging.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's worth it.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, it's interesting you talk about the universe. And I totally agree with you, because where I've been with synthetic telepathy, and when I was interfaced, it was such an intrusion, and it doesn't replace spirit, soul, consciousness, and how we can communicate beyond all that. So I totally resonate with what you're saying, and I do see that the nefarious projects where I've been, those things encapsulate you in a different kind of a void from my personal experience with the technologies. It's very, very different where I've been, and I hope that hasn't created a universe on my behalf, because my interface, I certainly didn't want one with that technology. So it is very interesting. But I love what you're communicating, and it's right from the heart, spirit, soul. You can feel it and know it. And I hope everybody's really absorbing this. I was going to ask you about your website too. It's fascinating. Tell everybody about what you do with your website.
So I kind of moved away from the I Am Infinite website, and I decided to amalgamate everything to one website. And at the moment, I have my website is weareinfinite.love. And in that website is an opportunity for people just to access some material on the public side of it, but it's really a membership style website. And the reason I've done that is because obviously I need to put food on the table, but also the level of content that people get access to. It's a massive archive of information. Also lessons and tools and techniques, webinars. We have monthly webinars. We do the monthly WTF George, which is lots of fun, where people write in questions, and I do a video where I answer their questions. So, well, I attempt to answer their questions to the best of my ability. And by all means, I do not have all the answers. I know some things in life, but I don't know everything, that's for sure. And it's lots of fun. It's a beautiful community, and it's really a community of people who have really gotten through a lot of it, and are really coming home to what's real within their own heart, soul essence. And it's just a place where people are resonating with a lot of what's being shared. There's nothing dogmatic about my work. There's not all these weird ritualistic practices that people must do in all the other modalities. We just are. I'm all about my agenda. I have a hidden agenda. My hidden agenda is to help people to remember who and what they are and where they come from and what we're actually doing here. So it's about empowering people from within. And it can really only happen when somebody's prepared to step into that space and say, you know what? I'm actually a sovereign, infinite creator being, and I need to step into that space of what it actually means to be a creator being. Not from a pretend point of view, not from someone who thinks about being one or likes the ideological system, the idea of it, but to actually embody it and be it. So it's a completely different expression and state of being when you make the choice to be it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I encourage people to sign up. Actually, I'm going to have to look into it myself. Sounds fascinating. I like your unique style.
It's only going to cost someone the price of a cup of coffee a week.
Oh, that's great.
People are saying, George, this is ridiculous. But I want to try and make it accessible to as many people as possible. And then from there, I've got courses and things people can attend. And, and so I feel that the structure I've got is really quite balanced for everyone.
Right. Well, I like the way you come across, too. You're energetic. It's very nice and very sincere. And like I said, your database is very unique. You're not cookie cutter, and I like that. I see a lot of people out there data mining information, and everybody can regurgitate what they're reading on the internet, but yours is coming from a different spectrum. You can tell. So that's something I look at, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's really nice to talk to you. I'm so glad you're on the show tonight. For certain, are you still being picked up and interacted with all these grays when you've been interacting when you were younger, or how's that going now?
Yeah, not so much anymore. I have more of the interactions I have these days is, I would say my consciousness will sometimes be taken into a hologram reality and entities try and interact with me there. It's getting harder for them to interact with me, just from the point of view is that I'm becoming more of me all the time. And if you think of the way your soul expression is in this world, your logos, which means another way of putting it is I'm singing my song of life. If you have a little pile of coals, you can kind of go up to it really nice and close, and you can put your hands near it and warm your hands, and it could be like, as close as 6 inches away. But if you have a big bonfire of coals, you can't get anywhere near that thing because you just the radiant heat's just you're gonna melt. And that's what happens. The more you become, the more you are basically emanating your soul expression, your authentic nature, and that is an expression of you beyond all distortions. And all these other entities that have distortion fields going on, it almost becomes unbearable for them to be in your vicinity. So they've got to find other ways of trying to communicate with you or get to you. And as humans, Earth humans, the way we're constructed, like I would go on board a craft, for example, and other beings would just be, some would be really happy to see me and other beings would be really quite almost frightened. And the reason they were struggling with me being in their vicinity is because we are fractals, universal fractals. When we experience what we call emotion, so when energy begins to move, that is emotion, energy in motion, we're emanating such a powerful wave of energy outwards that it really impacts on life profoundly. And so being able to be in their presence and hold steady with my emotional field was something. It took me quite a while to learn that. I'm still learning it, but I'm much better at it than I used to be. Mm-hmm. And but there's other beings who are our family, friends, comrades, allies, whatever you want to call them, and they're fine with us. They're actually in awe of what we're achieving here and the courage it's taken for us to incarnate inside of this whole integrative process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it certainly sounds that way. What is your impression of all these people out there who are talking about being abducted or contactee experiencers? I mean, what is your impression of that? Do you think that's a positive thing, or do you think there's something else happening behind the scenes with that?
It's because this reality facilitates anything, basically.
Mm-hmm.
There's really, there's not much you can't do here. So there's all different groups, interest groups. So there's extraterrestrials who are looking to do the shortcut thing. So they want to they want to try and achieve what we're achieving. So we're inside the process going through the Hall of Mirrors, you could say, where we are being shown everything we need to see about ourselves. We're being dissected from the inside out, and we have to face ourselves and go through this incredible alchemical process. And it's a lot of heart work. And a lot of beings are not actually prepared to do that. It terrifies them because you basically have to become fully vulnerable. And vulnerability terrifies the majority of beings. But you see, the true essence of power comes from the willingness to be vulnerable. And we've done that. We've got that willingness, some people more than others. And so you've got these ET groups that want to try and achieve, you can say integration or enlightenment, whatever term you want to use. They want to get it off the back of a cornflakes packet. See, they don't want to have to enter into the process. So they've started all these hybrid programs. And, we've discovered, and this is really, really interesting, that the whole concept of activating more DNA strands plays right into the hands of the whole hybrid program from many extraterrestrial groups. Whereas the reason we got it down to 2 strands of DNA is because we're actually integrating those 2 strands. So they're down to the baseline factors of duality. And like what I'm about to share, nobody has to go where I'm going, okay? I'm just sharing with you my path. So what I'm doing is I'm integrating those 2 strands into a unity, and I'm transcending DNA altogether. So you can see now the point of reference. The other narrative is that you must activate more strands of DNA, which, funny enough, that's where we've come from. So I don't want to go back up the umbilical cord. I'm here to birth a new version of myself in the universe. Yeah, nice. Brand new and fully integrated into a universal, intelligent being. So I'm not interested in reactivating DNA strands and being recycled back into the grand cosmic arena so I can continue to play with spaceships and all those, politically, motivated dramas going on that level. I'm not interested in playing that game. Been there, done that, journeyed through the hologram of the gods, done all that sort of stuff. Now we're coming out of that, and we're on this journey into full integration. So this whole thing about ET groups coming here and doing all these hybrid programs, which I do have hybrid children with, and there's some very, very beautiful beings that I've held in my arms, which are my own children. There are some groups that are doing it because they want to better understand the codes that their races need in order to, if they have certain codes, they can then steer their society, the elders of the society can then implement different narratives and different programs and help steer and encourage people into this, pathway back home to, and this is my languaging, my biased opinion, to what is real, away from the distorted narratives that we've been living inside of all these programs of dogma and doctrine. So it's a different take on things, but It feels real and natural to me.
It certainly does, and you do have that grounded kind of energetic about you as well, which isn't. It feels more whole. It does. It feels more complete versus some of the other things. You're making perfect sense to me. Also, yeah, I'm tired of the game too. I don't want to live the game. That's not working.
Yeah.
I get it. I totally understand that. So I think people would probably resonate with that too, who are listening, for certain. In a world like this, we're seeing so much. We talk about the drama bubbles and the things that are happening here in the illusion of, and it seems very sad to some degree, and almost like it's hopeless, and there's really no future for mankind. But really, that. Would you call that an illusion, or just something people are just moving through and navigating through?
Just need a little bit more info on that question. I'm feeling into what you're saying. When you say the illusion, what part of it? Well,
I'm just thinking that what we're seeing here, the severe activities that are happening here, the polarization, even the crises that are going on here with race or whatever, it just seems like it's getting so intense. I'm wondering, is that just something that'll be just leveled out at some point? What is your impression of that?
Okay, so my approach to that is it's heading towards a critical mass.
Okay.
And it'll depend which layer of that a person's awareness will choose to occupy. So think of different versions of that which you just stated have different vibrational fields. So therefore, a person's awareness might be occupying a vibrational field or, a reality where for them, they're totally riddled with fear. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they're being very reactive. They're being very aggressive, evangelistic, all that sort of stuff. So that's an expression of that. Another expression will be people who are really working hard to create peace, and the so-called chaos that is being manufactured. Chaos, right? Yeah, orchestrated, is providing a precursor. So, in other words, that Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, shall we say. So, it is the precursor to creating a spike, like a critical mass point, which is the reaction point, and then in comes the solution. So, the New World Order that is being created is actually not so much going to be dark, dystopian, Orwellian, that people think. It's actually going to be based on peace and love. And there's going to be events that will play out in this world that are going to be so horrendous that there's going to be such a massive cry for peace. And that wave of momentum, that's going to be a massive wave of momentum, will then be the one that will be subjugated and be utilized, and the New World Order under the guise of love, peace, and unity will be created. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a flip, isn't it?
Well, that's how I see it.
No, I think it's great.
But that will be short-lived.
Right.
Even though it's going to happen, it will be short-lived, because as a humanity, the human race actually needs to learn that lesson. This is what I've discovered. I look at my own personal journey and I'm like, why did I have this challenge happen in my life? And when I look at some challenges, I embrace them completely because I totally need to learn the wisdom from those experiences. Mm-hmm. There are some challenges that come my way that I know are completely bogus and manufactured, and they're really just designed to suck out my energy and my resources and steer me in a particular direction. Right. So somebody else is orchestrating those challenges in the sense of the energetic field of the challenge. Now, we're all role-playing for one another, so we're all co-creating this reality together. And if someone's being an arsehole towards you, for example, then from a grander level, you actually contracted that being to come and behave like that towards you in this space-time location. And we're playing the roles of perpetrators and we're playing the roles of victims and everything in between. Mm-hmm. So I've decided to see the drama and engage in the drama on my choosing, and to do it from a place of management, and therefore embrace my challenges in life, but at the same time know that every time somebody's providing me with a challenge, that beyond this stage, that we're all role-playing for one another, we're actually all in unity. So even though from within I can call out the gods, for example, and the ruling elite or certain extraterrestrial groups that are very malevolent and dark and doing horrible things to humanity, and I can get involved on that level, you could say. At the same time, beyond the grand cosmic arena, all of us are actually in unity.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't just boil down to pure energy, pure light?
That's the baseline expression of the universe. Yes, that's the unified field.
I would say, yeah, that's what makes sense to me too. What about releasing vows and contracts? Do you think that's pointless?
I use a process called closure. That's one of the most powerful things that I share. And what we're doing is, because we orchestrated our experiences from beyond this reality, beyond the grand cosmic arena, in all its dimensions, so I'm talking about beyond the great void, where there is no technology and there's no distortions of any kind, and there's just everyone's in unity. It's a really beautiful place. So there, from that place, we work out who's going to play what role for who in what reality and when and where. And it's there we have what's called soul level agreements. So by understanding natural law, which is LORE, that's natural law, and it's also universal, it's natural universal law, LORE law, and knowing the difference between LORE and LAW is a synthetic construct. LORE is natural, and it's the way we have agreements and co-created agreements, and we all role play for one another in realities, and it's everyone's on the level. There's no mystery really, and so from that level we deal with the agreements we have in place with beings, and the process that I'm teaching, I'm sharing with people, is for us to be able to address those agreements on that level. And it's really interesting when you call into a space an entity, never, not a single person has ever had an entity attack them. They can't. It's 100% safe. It's 100% foolproof. But at the same time, it only works if you're willing to actually own your role in the co-creation of the experience. So if somebody wants to continue to play the victim, for example, closure is not going to work for you because you want to play the victim. So you're still, you're getting some sort of benefit by playing the victim. Closure only works for people who know they are responsible creator beings.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. And playing the victim, there's a difference between playing the victim and actually communicating the truth and being forthright in what's happened in an experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I was really good at playing the victim, and on the odd occasion, I still am. I'm still a work in progress, like everybody else. But it's fun. Sometimes we need it because then it draws in an experience, and I get excited because all of a sudden I've got some beautiful, wisdom. I'm cultivating wisdom from an experience, and I grow. I learn and I grow. It's really good.
Right. I do like the closure. I like what you're doing with that. And of course, that would be connected to your website if people want to get involved in that. Yeah,
I've got the courses in that, and I've got them coming up online soon. I'm going to just create just a pure online version of closure, which I'm in the process of. I've been working on it for a few months now, but it'll be coming out soon.
Awesome.
And I've got online courses that I'm running as well, and in-person courses as well.
That's
and closure is really powerful. People are using it in crisis counselors are using it, for example. And there's a lady, more than one, using it in drug rehabilitations as well. Because people get to do closure with the spirit of the substance that they're in deep relationship with. So if we come to realise actually that this isn't rocket science, that it's relationship. So everything in the universe, due to the nature of the universe, is actually relationship.
Right. Very, very interesting.
All we've got to do is change our approach and treat everything as relationship. Then it all changes.
Exactly. And also the fact that everything has a consciousness or is alive, so we're always interacting with different types of life forms and many designs. It's very complex when you think about it. And we are heading for a break. I can't believe how fast we're going here. Everybody, you listen to Ravenstar Switching Hour. I'm your host, Solaris BlueRaven. Our wonderful guest tonight is George Kavasillas. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.